My name is Marion Debruyne. I am the Dean of Vlerick Business School and also author of the book Customer Innovation, which is now just out in its second edition. So overall, if you look at the link between innovation and growth, obviously in general you can look at growth in terms of organic growth versus growth through M&A. We see both in fact really being important because sustainable, profitable growth for any company is a priority. Now when we specifically look at organic growth, obviously the ways to do that is either through innovation or through, let's say, marketing and sales excellence, or by going into different markets with your existing portfolio. So for me, innovation is one of the key drivers of organic growth. I think the role of the marketeer in the innovation process really cannot be underestimated. If you look at how, I must say, really low the success rate of innovations and launches on the market is, one of the key reasons that is happening is because companies are too much inside-out focused in their innovation efforts. So it comes from what are we good at and what else can we do with that. The role of marketing is really to force and enable and to bring in an outside-in perspective into innovation. And after all, when doing anything new on the market, and we take a broad perspective on innovation there, the key point is to hit the bullseye in the market and to do something which really hits the sweet spot for the customer. And that is where the marketeer obviously has a main role to play to bring in the voice of the customer inside the organization. What I basically specified in my book Customer Innovation is that 3 competencies are really important in bringing in this outside-in perspective to innovation. The first one is to connect with the market and the customer. And that is bringing in that voice of the customer and that market perspective and really understand the needs of the customer. The second capability is to convert those insights and that understanding into relevant value propositions and real solutions in the market. And the third competency is the ability to collaborate. To collaborate internally, to make sure that everything is aligned to guarantee a successful launch, but also increasingly to collaborate externally. Well, first of all, what I would recommend in terms of methodology is to recognize that innovation is really a very broad thing. It's like an umbrella term, which can contain both what I would call micro-innovation. I call it innovation with a small I, which is about the everyday small improvements. In cool blue terms, every day a little better. And then there is the innovation with the big I, and those are really the breakthrough, new business models, real revolutionary ideas. Both are innovation, both are important, both can be tremendous drivers of competitiveness, but both need to be managed in a very different way. And so I think in terms of what kind of methodologies do we use, that you really need to separate the world of innovation with a big I versus the world of innovation with a small I. I think business design thinking, if we employ it as a way in which we want to understand customer needs and the entire customer journey, for me business design thinking very often is very related to analyzing the customer journey, and really the end-to-end customer journey, and looking for opportunities to improve or even radically change different steps in the customer journey. For me, it fits very well in that micro-innovation, in finding those everyday opportunities to improve the customer experience, which from a customer perspective can be really major steps forward. What I recognize in innovation, there is, let's say, the ideation challenge. coming up with the relevant insights and translating that into the right propositions. But then there is the execution challenge. And this is where often things go wrong, you know, and when new product launches or innovations fail, we often think, oh, it's because the idea was bad, but very often the idea was good, it was just executed not in the right way. It's in the executions phase that the skill of collaboration becomes tremendously important. To really get alignment across the organization, across silos, is tremendously important. Secondly, where also the collaboration with, you know, the customer itself becomes important, because there it's about, you know, leveraging the tremendous potential power of the customer to be an ally and to be an ambassador. For me, really is also an ingredient of a successful launch. Think about what Lego did in not only asking customers for ideas, but also asking customers to vote on those ideas, and they basically outsourced the decision of the selection to the customer itself. And it's already a first test of, is this something that is really answering a relevant customer need for a sample size which is bigger than n is 1. I think that's one way to look at it and say, maybe it's not our job to rate those ideas, but maybe we can leverage the power of the customer to do that. Secondly, I think, you know, no better judge than, you know, testing something in the market. And so, you know, going from an idea stage to an execution stage with an idea of experimenting, and where the idea is minimal resources, maximum learning. Basically think of, let's experiment with a multitude of ideas and see, you know, which one really gain traction in the market and not just on the meeting room table or on the flip chart. It's the cliche, but, you know, when I use my iPad, I mean, it's very clear that in every single aspect of the customer experience there and the design, the customer was the focus there. I think technology in anything digital is a tremendous opportunity to, you know, for our devices and products and customer experiences and digital platforms to basically anticipate the customer's next step before we even know it itself, ourselves, that we want to take that next step. I think one of the big advantages that, let's say, overall tech companies and tech industries have over, you know, for example, FMCG, is that direct access to the customer. And I think that gives them a tremendous competitive advantage of data. And it's the data that tell you a lot about the customer's behavior, it's the data that give you a lot of insights, and it's the data that allow you to anticipate customer needs and personalize that experience, because there is no such thing as the customer and the standard customer. We often overestimate the speed at which innovation becomes successful in the market, and we see some exceptional outlier examples, and we start seeing that as the benchmark. Very often there is patience required in innovation, and we should know that. Almost, I would say, if you look at the success rate of innovation, you would almost say, if you want to be successful, don't innovate, because the chance of success will be lower than the potential chance of failure. But we know innovation is necessary, because standing still is a for sure recipe to lose out and to not survive. I think in reality it is, the 99% perspiration and the 1% inspiration. And maybe that's the most important thing that we need to take away. Coffee.